If you are working for a company, let's say in the US company is not supposed to pay you like a Nigerian. They're supposed to pay you at least at their minimum wage. When you have information and when you have a true being of who you are, you always demand for something and people will see the authenticity in what you're asking for.
You've applied for 100,000 jobs and gotten thousands of rejections, and with each email, you're always getting heartbroken. Hi, my name is Adele Greatman, and in this segment, we'll be talking about how to apply for a job the right way, what recruiters are looking out for. And with me is a guest, a good friend of mine, Atat Charles. Atat, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So, let's start with an introduction. Who are
My
you?
name is Atat Charles. I'm a media practitioner. I also run a non-profit and I run Adela Africa. It's a brand that seeks to connect African tech talent to companies in US and Europe remotely. And so I've been working, in fact, I have worked from 9 to 4, the normal working. I have done freelancer, I've done remote work, which is what Adela Africa is onto. So I understand the whole application process. Applying for a job is not easy in any part of the world, especially when you are an African. There is the issue of qualification, there is also the issue of location, there's also the issue of payment. So you will see that even people who have the qualification, they are not getting the job because of means of payment, because maybe the way the company is going to pay you is not accepted in your country. So getting a rejection, I'm used to it, and I'm sure that if you're somebody that has been applying for jobs, you get that wonderful romantic email that says, thank you for applying. We wish to after
I'm sorry, we took another direction.
or they'll tell you after going through many applications, though you are highly qualified, all those it happens. And if you're someone that has not experienced it, well, lucky for you, because everybody has a different journey. But the question is, why are people not getting jobs?
I think before we get into that, what's the story behind Adele Africa?
So Adele Africa was born out of the passion that we realized a lot of young tech talent exists in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, according to the NBS statistics, we have over 1.2 million software developers, over 250,000 software developers who are living in Nigeria, which is said to be the second highest number of developing community in the world. However, not even up to 10% of these numbers are currently employed. So we started asking ourselves, what's the problem of this? Is it that they don't have access to the market, or is it that they can't receive pay? And then we saw the inconsistency in the market where even when they have the certification, there were the challenges of payment. Okay. Either the bank is not receiving that payment, and then we saw people being what is called taken advantage of. You work for a company for like a month or two, and then they will not pay you. You go through some other third-party applications to get this job, and then the company will now, when you have submitted your job, will now say, oh, your job is not good enough, and they will not pay you. And this thing is, and then we saw payment disparity as well. And that's because we don't know, most of the remote workers in Africa, they don't know their value, or they are scared to ask for their value. So you can be working with somebody, you are in the same department, the same JD, you entered the same time. The other person is earning, let's say, $700, and you are earning $200, and you'll be doing more work than that person. There will be more dignity of work relationship with the other person that is maybe from the first class countries. Yeah. So we saw this inconsistency and we said, oh, we need to set up a platform where we can connect people with the right information, because I've been doing it for over 5 years. So I've seen the shake back and forth. I can look at a contract and just say, this is not a good contract for me. And I can say that because I have access to information. I can say, oh, this working condition is not going to work for me because this is my time zone. If they are going to, like, one of our partners was working for a Singapore company, and they owed her over, I think, over 3,000 something dollars after working for over 3 months. And after front and back, she was only able to collect 1,000 and something. That would not have happened if we had gone in as a corporate entity, because we'll be able to demand for what we earn. So that's where Adela comes into play.
Wow. I know you said something about remote workers in this side of the world not understanding their value. So my question is, what constitutes a value? Like for an individual, for a remote worker, how do you say, okay, this is my value? How do you determine your value as a remote worker?
I think your job description already tells you what your value is. basically. What are you doing for the company? So what you're doing for the company is the value you're giving the company, and how much is that value worth at global market space? Because one thing about remote working is you are no longer using your national standard of living and minimum wage to work. Do you understand? You're now using a global scale. So if you're working for a company, let's say in the US company is not supposed to pay you like a Nigerian. They're supposed to pay you at least at their minimum wage. And so if you look at the news, you see where people will carry, let's say, mates from Nigeria or from Africa to another country, and then all of a sudden you see the mates will sue them, and then they will be like one of the judge that they is a judge in another African country was arrested, and I don't know whether she currently has been jailed because she exploited her maid. For her, she was paying minimum wage according to her country standard. But the UK government said no, this person is now working in the UK, so it has to be the minimum wage in the UK. So a lot of times we don't even know what the minimum wage of each of our career paths are. So I'll take for instance, I got a remote gig for a company, and when they sent us our stipend plus salary, it was $100.
Salary plus
Stipend,
$100.
$100. You see, I did. Yeah,
That's
I
crazy.
when I saw it, because I'm somebody that, like I said, because I've been through a lot, I understood and I know my value, and I know this is what is $100 when you want to execute this job. This is a remote opportunity. I wrote to the company, wrote an email, and this is where Africans we need to start speaking out and supporting ourselves. It is annoying to say that while I was demanding for my rights, a fellow Nigerian who also got the same email, because I wrote an email to all of us from Nigeria and other African countries to say, I don't think this is fair. He went behind my back and told the HR to say, make me the head of the Nigerian team. This money will make it work. And thankfully, I was not silent. Because the thing is, when you have information and when you have a true being of who you are, you always demand for something and people will see the authenticity in what you're asking for.
Yes.
So I wrote to the company, they set up another meeting. I wrote to all the Nigerian guys and said, this is not what we should earn. This is, and they set up a meeting because now, out of the four Nigerians that I selected, three of them, like two of them was with me, one other person wanted to be the head. So we went on a call, and guess what? HR said we should be grateful for the money they are giving us. That is more than our minimum wage.
Wow.
And at that point, minimum wage in our country was not up to like $50 when you do the exchange rate.
Okay.
So it's like they were working on outdated information because they felt, oh, that is enough, not knowing that that minimum wage is not actually. So I had to explain to them what that meant, and they increased the money. They say, okay, we can't. This is our budget. This is what we can pay, and they went up. And the same money they wanted to pay us, they wanted to pay a Brazilian about $1,200.
Wow.
Before
The same salary.
the same salary.
Stipend.
So after we went front and back, our money went to $700.
Wow.
Do you get?
Now imagine you like that team doesn't have someone like you on the team,
To
and
ask,
they just accept it.
they would
I
have.
think it's the same case for different remote workers in different companies. I believe that as individuals, getting into the remote workspace, we should really understand what the value, not even value in our country, but what's the global standard for compensation. And we should actually bring this conversation even in interviews.
And another thing, the country, the where the company resides, that's the standard you are supposed to work with.
You mean where the company is registered?
Yes. So if the company is registered in the UK, that UK, there's a standard they're supposed to pay. So there's a budget they would work with. They won't work with a US budget in the UK because obviously the standard of living, the expertise and everything is different.
Okay, so I think let's bring it home now. Let's say I'm a job applicant and I see a job and if I pass the recruitment stage when not even interview, I've gotten into the interview. What are the things I should research on before coming into the interview? Because I think that at the interview stage is where people shoot themselves on the leg. I've shared my story with you. I got recruited for a company and I didn't research at the time, and I just blotted out the figure that looked big in my head, and I was looking at my own country standard, not knowing that there was a global standard, and I'm still paying for that mistake.
Error.
Yeah, of some sort. So yeah, so what are the things you should research on before going into the
So
interview?
before going for an interview, first of all, you need to ask yourself, what are you willing to take home? Because a lot of times, it's not that they are underpaying you, it's that you feel underpaid. Do you get the difference? If I ask for a $200 and the company's salary is $700 and they agree to pay me $200, I won't feel cheated until after a period of time. Do you get? So the first thing is, how much are you willing to receive? The next thing is, for this job you are trying to apply for, go and research people in those jobs. How much do they earn? Don't research only on your nationality. Get your nationality figure, get other country figures, then have a baseline. And the reason why I'm saying that is you will never know the real value you're supposed to ask for. And the reason is some companies that can pay well will usually not give their salary structure outside. It's always an inside circle something. Even if you go and check, let's say, Glassdoor to see the different wages, what you'll be seeing there will not be before tax or maybe after tax or maybe benefits and all of those things. So what you want to do is have a baseline. And during an interview stage, it's very hard, but I usually say, don't ever say an amount. First, understand the currency that they are dealing with. When they ask you questions like, how much do you want to earn? The next question you should be asking is, oh, what's your budget? Sometimes they will try to turn it and say no, and then you realize, okay, so are you going to be paying me in dollars? What currencies are we talking about? You know why you're asking those questions? Because the moment they respond to you, if they say, oh, I'm going to pay you, like as in Nigeria, if they say, I'm going to pay you in Naira, then automatically my brain means that these people have been doing business in Nigeria and they have a local entity here that will pay. So because I've done my research, I could say, okay, so is it before or after tax? The moment you start asking these questions, you'll be able to understand where they are going to. And if they still don't, then because you've done your research, you see that, okay, in Nigeria, this my budget will be like 300, 400,000. You cannot say anything above 300 will be fine by me. And they will be like, so if the money is way out of their budget, you hear things like, okay, would you not go for something lower? You know, this job is a starting, and what here is an entry position. You know, we are start. You want to hear that, know that you have gone outside budget. So what you would do, you will not still shoot yourself on the leg. You just say, well, I'm hoping to see the other benefit packages and holidays and HMOs that you will provide, and then I'm open to be aligning the budget with what you work with. You see, that way you're telling them that I'm still open for conversation. Do you get? And then if you hear something like, oh, that's not bad, uncle, auntie, the money you're asking for is too small. Their compensation. So the moment they say that, the next thing you're going to tell them is, oh, okay, I'm sure I'll look at the HMO, and if it's something that is low, I would also perhaps be open to renegotiating for more. But this is my entry point. So that way, you're letting them know that. But any normal organization will also send you. They already have an entry amount. So if you pass that position, they will send you regardless of what you accepted. Some companies too would now go and restructure your contract to do that. And then there is this thing I want to clear out. A lot of companies will say, don't discuss your salary. Say, like you. Me, I will ask you and that's why I say Nigerians, we need to help Africans, we need to help ourselves. A lot of people are very closed on their salary. I have changed a lot in the different working organizations space that I've been to, because me, I always ask. Uncle, how much this money they're giving us? Sometimes I will tell my salary without asking you. This money, that's 500. It's not enough. Data, guinea. When the guy have 500, he might say, your own is, do you understand? Or at least my own is a bit higher. Get anyone than me? Hey, Charles, what's up? What's going on? Do you get? So be open. We need to help ourselves, because the reason they say no, they say don't share your salary. They did not tell us not to share our salary with our staffs. It's a technicality. So work on technicalities.
Thank you for that. So this is for people that have skilled interviews, right? Let's bring it down to
People that have never
people
gotten
that
there.
have not even gotten an interview call.
Okay.
What are the reasons why you think people don't get interview calls? Then we go into how they can also.
So I will speak from the place of a recruiter because Adela Africa also interviews candidates who want to get jobs, and we provide onboarding process training for these people. And then I also speak from the place of somebody that is also constantly applying in different areas. And I want to be specific. Applicate one of the reasons that people lie to themselves. People lie to themselves a lot.
Okay.
You see a job application, you know that you don't deserve that job, that you don't qualify for that job. You go and apply. Why? No, why are you doing that to yourself? Because that's the problem. The from the start of your application process, you must be 100% sure. It's not let me try. Let me try. Maybe I'll get what I'll not get it.
Have you heard this saying that, and it's something that is going around recently, I think in like a past year or two, that they say even if you can't do it, say yes and learn on the job.
And the problem now is as you're saying yes to, remember these companies are also people that are looking for competent candidates. So as you're saying yes, that people too, they are not willing to wink it.
Okay.
Do you understand? So that is the thing. And I think that is a falsehood you find yourself. So someone like me, for instance, if I want to interview you, if you are not competent, I know.
True.
Because by the time me and you talk one or two, I will know whether you know or you do not know. It's not to send a bloated CV. So first, the time and energy you're using to applying for what you know you don't deserve, you'd have researched more and looked for something that is similar to what you do. True. So don't waste time on applications that you get a no. So that's the first thing. Don't lie to yourself. Second thing, what are you applying? Is it CV or resume?
I think I don't know if I should cut it short then so that we can talk about the difference between a CV and the resume. Okay. You want?
Yes,
okay, let's do that.
Okay, so CV and resume. So when you do CV, it has more of your academic qualifications, your age, your locations, and all of those things. And some CV comes with picture. A resume doesn't have picture. It doesn't have your locations. It has just a summary of what you've done. Another thing I want to let people do, which is the second thing, the third thing is read.
Okay.
Read. There's a difference of scanning and reading.
What do you mean?
So you see a job application, you just scan, you see the JD tells you they're looking for, instance, a social media manager.
Yeah.
But when you didn't read the job description, you just read the job title. You didn't read the job description to realize that in the job description, what they're also looking for is for also a content SEO manager.
Okay.
So the job description is not tallying with the title. Okay. And so your experience matches the job title, but the requirement doesn't tally with what you do. Then you did not read to see that they said open to countries in XYZ.
Oh, right. Guys, always read this.
So read. So sometimes you are finished, and I don't know if it has happened to some people. You finish applying to the submit, you now see, are you somebody with disability? Which state are you in? You now realize, it's only US people they are looking for. Okay. Do you understand? So I think we need to read and understand what you're applying for. The next is your CV or resume ATS friendly? A lot of job recruiters right now, because they collect.
Before going to that, what is ATS? What does ATS mean, and what's the ATS stand for?
ATS is applicants tracking system. Okay. A lot of companies use this system to reduce the burden of looking at people's CVs or resumes that they send to them. So they've already put some KPIs on them. Perhaps they're looking for a content manager. There are certain skills that they're looking for. They've put that on the system. And so what this tracking system does, it selects CVs based on the algorithm that rhymes with the JD or what the company is looking for. Okay. Now, a lot of job applicants don't even pass, the application doesn't pass the entry stage to the company because it's not ATS compliant. Okay. So what you have to do, and from experience, what we advise is your CV should be as simple as possible. Don't use color. It can be black and white.
So can they use, should they use Word document or should they use
have your CV in both? Have your CV in both. Have your CV in Word documents and in PDF. Okay. Because there's some, again, read the application. Okay. There's some application that will tell you attach your motivational letter or your cover letter with your CV. Then automatically the format you're supposed to do that will be in a PDF document.
Okay.
So it means that their ATS system will be programmed as such to receive. There are some people that will tell you put it in a MS Word or put it in a Google Drive link.
Okay.
Do you understand? So you need to really understand how they want you to send it to them and in what format. Now, the thing is, your CV also needs to be, I would advise, black and white, number one.
Okay.
The same front, maybe front 13 and front 12. Front 12 is for your experience and all of those things. Then the other side boldly. You can make research. Google is your friend. Find out HS friendly CVs format. Put that in there. Do your arrangement. And before you submit any application, regardless of how good your CV is, especially if you've done a cover letter specific to a particular application process.
Okay.
I apply through LinkedIn. I've gone through Fiverr and some other platforms. So each platform has its unique application process. What I do is I download my CV every time I apply, even up till now. I gotta put it on ATS.
Okay.
Is
there a free ATS?
There's a free ATS. That's why Google LinkedIn is your friend. Just like free ATS survey.
All right.
It will come up and you put your CV. Anything below 85% is not a good one.
Compliant.
It's compliant, but it's not a good one.
Okay.
Because remember that your CV is going to be competing with people's CV from every other part of the world. So you also want to have your CV at least at a 90% par, so that the ATS will recommend your system as high priority as well. And this can only happen when you've done your research on what you're applying for. So see why reading is important. There are some skill sets that the job will be looking for, and because you have a generic CV, do you get?
Okay.
Those skill sets will not be written there. But had it been you read, you saw that they were looking for maybe Adobe Lights editor and all of those things.
Can always add it.
You can go back to your CV in your skill set and remove some things and put in the required skill set that will give you an edge. Because a lot of times we get that rejection because our CV, one, is not even passing through. Like in Adela Africa, our HR, we have over 700 talents.
Okay.
In our talent pool.
Mm-hmm.
As we speak this month, we're trying to reorganize a training to educate our applicants how to get ATS ready, because our ATS platform is even rejecting our talents.
That's crazy.
Do you understand?
I think let's talk about so in reviewing these CVs or resumes, what are the mistakes you see that young professionals are making in submitting this thing?
A lot of design.
Okay.
A lot of design. I know that there are some skills, there are some job applications that you're doing that will require your creative juice to be on your CV. But that is why we have what they call a portfolio link.
Okay.
So in your CV, you should have a portfolio link. That portfolio link should just be a link that when they are reading it, they can click on it and it will take them, if it's a Google Drive or if it's a website or something that has your portfolio in terms of graphic details there. Because when you put colors, it's, for now, the ATS system it scatters the ATS system's format. So there's a possibility that the ATS will reject your CV. And the annoying part is, if you've applied for some job opportunity, as soon as you just drop your document, the next thing you will see within a minute is, thank you for application. Unfortunately, we won't scale you at this time. You see like an auto response.
Okay, so that's coming from the ATS.
There's a possibility that the ATS has rejected your CV
before even give you a chance.
Yes, and I'm using this. There's an opportunity I applied for. It was a sort of like a grant. I applied for that opportunity and I got an auto rejection. And because I'm used to, I call myself father of rejection. I'm used to seeing back, but I knew. Let's say this application.
You didn't even get it.
He didn't get, like, I knew that I was overqualified for that job.
Okay.
So this is where your research goes into. Luckily, the portfolio had a link, an email that you can send through. So I wrote a separate email with no documents. I wrote an email explaining that I feel that I have a better opportunity. I was rejected, but they need to look at blah, 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 blah. And I dropped a link on the email. I got that grant.
Wow.
Do you understand? And that made me go back to restructure. I did not read.
Oh.
Do you get? So in the course of applying, I'm supposed to put my Google Drive link, and I now did pictures in my proposal and put it in a PDF format and sent to them, because I wanted to make their job easy. It's not in your place to make the recruiter's job. Just follow instruction.
Okay.
Do you get? So I got that opportunity, and so I learned a very big one to realize that ITK no they help. Like I too know. Read, stick to what they ask you
Stick
for.
to the
Yes,
instructions.
when it's time to now perform at the interview stage, you can now in and explain. So my current CV, I have my portfolio link there. I don't have any pictures or anything. I have a specific drive
Okay.
that is for all my proof of work in an itemized order. So anybody that any job I'm applying for, they just go there. And that has also helped me because I am not applying for only jobs that have testimonials in my Chrome, in my Google Drive document.
Okay.
So if I see a job that I can do but doesn't have proof, I don't no need for me to apply because the CV is a flat one that has everything that I need for it. So over time, I have learned to stick to what works for me.
Okay,
So I think
this works for you, and then you just stick to it.
yeah, so I think that people need to look at their CV, go and learn what an ATS friendly CV is. Every time you want to apply, if you're not sure, carry your CV, Google free ATS tracking to they'll tell you to upload your CV in the format, upload your CV, look at anything below 80, maybe 85 and above is not a good one.
Okay.
So that's the third thing I think people should be careful of. So first, again, just to reiterate, is
too many designs.
yes, too many. So too many designs. I think I'll just say first, don't lie to yourself.
Okay.
Know whether you qualify for this job or not. Two, I think have a CV or a resume. Read what they're asking for. If you see, don't intertwine them. Three, read. As in read to understand. Reading is an application process on its own.
Word.
So read to understand.
Yeah.
And then after you've understood what you've read, apply based on their guidelines and be sure that your CV is ATS compliant.
I think what I understand is that like a generic CV might not cut it these days.
It will not cut
And
it.
you should always tailor your CV to whatever job you're applying. Read, understand this. Understand not just the job title you're applying for. Understand the instructions given, the job description, and whatever skill that you see that you think you can add to your CV or resume to make you stand out.
Exactly.
Right? And also follow the ATS and make sure that your CV is compliant
Yes.
as well.
And another thing is, like when we say don't lie, my CV, if I want to go into a job now, is a mid-level job, it's not an entry-level job.
Okay.
So you need to understand the entry part you are going into. So if you're looking for an entry-level job with my CV, I don't need to change anything. Because most of the things they'll be looking for in an entry-level job is already in my CV in terms of skill sets.
Yeah.
So it's a flat format. But if I'm going for a mid-level job, there's a possibility that there are some skill sets that they'll be looking for that I don't have. Now, it's up to me to decide whether it's a skill set that I would want to learn so that I put it on the CV and apply, or if it's a skill set that I want to learn on the job. Again, don't lie to yourself because if your CV is good enough, if you're motivated, and then the next stage, least I forget, is your cover letter or your CV, your about me. And a lot of us will write CVs with AI. And so AI will put things like hyphen, will put certain words.
Okay.
Please, even if AI writes your CV, AI is not a human. And there are some of this system that has AI check, which is also a problem on its own. So what you want to do is you can give prompts to AI to sort of write it in a professional but good tone, then go back and re-edit it to sound human. Put your feeling inside. A lot of times you're about me. So as a recruiter as well, when I open people's CV on that have applied to opportunities that we have, I just look at your about me. I don't really look at your experience and all of those things. I just look at your about me because I want to know the applicants. If your about me is not interesting enough, I might just skip because
what makes an about me interesting?
How do you relate to about you is who are you?
As pertaining to the job, or who am I? You want to know
who are you? Whether you are who are you? As exactly. So if your about me is I am a highly skilled environmental, everybody is highly skilled, Guano.
Okay, so what are you looking out for?
So for instance, you're about me in your CV or your resume, which is your first after your name and your email and everything, would be and I mean, for the past 6 years, I've been a XYZ so and so, and I am dedicated to blah blah blah. Do you now see that the moment I start reading for over 3 years, over 5 years, the person's brain
knows that this guy is experienced.
is experienced. Do you understand? So my point is already okay. This person has an experience, and this is what the person is talking about. I'm now enticed to look at the other aspects of the person's document.
So it sort of brings you into
down. You
CV
get
and-
another thing is if you don't have the education qualification, have the experience.
So what that let's bring it down to the university level, right? We know of people that come out of university and then they don't have experience, but they go and they see there are jobs that are asking for 3 years experience for entry level position. So I don't know. Let's speak to that. How do you think someone with no experience just getting out of university can apply and get a job?
I think internship is one of them. Internship is one of them. So in Nigeria, our educational system, especially the public ones, sometimes doesn't give room for people to be able to get experience while learning, especially if you're a full-time student. However, if you're someone that have gone through life while in school, I'm not saying I don't think anybody has an excuse because they're the same people who are currently in school who are also getting experience while in school.
While in school.
So if unfortunately you were not doing anything in school, well, it's not too late. It's always late when you don't realize that there's a problem. So you come out of school, you find where to intern. It doesn't really have to be, in a corporate setting. It could be in an informal place. What you're looking for is to have practical experience of what you want to do while you have clarity. Another thing is speak for yourself. So there are a lot of people who maybe they send themselves through school or they are from families that cannot afford, to offer their services for free. For you to come from that lineage, then I assume that you have some sort of soft skills that you've been doing, which in itself is an experience. So I advise people, if they've already left school, to find an organization or a body that they can volunteer their time for. If they're currently in school, look at school bodies that you can get practical working experience.
Like
I know
SUG,
SUG, ISEC,
Enactus.
Enactus, all these bodies. Their experience doesn't have to be formal. The fact that you were selling on the street is an experience. That is a sales experience. That is a marketing experience. The fact that you're a driver, that is logistics coordinator. Because as a driver, you pick and drop off things. You have to keep to time. You communicate. So another thing I want people who have left school is to also sit down and focus on their career path. If they don't have clarity, seek for clarity, maybe from mentors or from coaches. And then to summarize, what is important is first, if you're going to apply for any job, don't lie to yourself. Be sure that you are competent. You believe that you deserve this job. Secondly, look at your CV or your resume. Third, read to understand. Because reading is part of the application process. So read to understand. When you're sure you've understood, you can now apply and personalize your story with numbers and with data. Don't just say I'm a highly skilled. You can start by saying for over 3 years, because yes, some jobs would want to ask for experience, but experience is not, for an entry level job, is not the first requirement. It is the ability for them to be sure that you will stay with them for long. And another thing, to be certain that you are somebody that is teachable and a teamwork player. And even your CV, there is nothing. So even volunteering roles
Shows that you're a team player.
shows that
and
you're a team player. So
and all
exactly. So you should have all of those things there. And don't think any of your story doesn't matter in application during interview. Because a lot of people say, I don't want to share this. Maybe it will share all your story. Don't self-censor yourself in an interview process. Let the panel of justice that is that is interviewing you, let the HR then be the ones to decide.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I hope this has been helpful to you. We've come to the end of this segment. Till next time, hope you enjoyed this. If you enjoyed, comment, like, subscribe, share with your friends. We want to keep the conversation going. So what's your experience getting a job? What is one lesson you think young people can learn on the job or while getting a job? Let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for
Thank you for having me.
All right.